Today we're mixing bass with the new Submission Audio DjinnBass library. I'm going to show you how to make it sound like this in a mix. So we'll go ahead and get right into everything here. We've got the new interface with the DI setting pulled up. Unlike the previous Eurobass library, this one only has a DI channel, a distorted channel, and a heavy distortion channel. For this example, I'm going to be showing you how to craft a tone from the DI channel. It sounds like this. We'll go ahead and show you with the MIDI open. Sounds pretty good. Better than probably any bassist you know. So let's get right into the processing. So before we get started, I don't mix with the contact library open. I use the right-click bounce in place function in Logic. It's one of my favorite features. I use it for drums. I use it to process guitars. It saves a lot of processing power within your DAW, and I highly recommend if you have the option to do that. I believe Cubase has a render in place. I don't know much about other DAWs, but it's something I use all the time, and I highly recommend doing that. So let's get started on the actual bass processing. So we're going to start with this DI track I have right here. I'm going to play it for you. You'll hear it's the exact same thing we had in the MIDI. So with this, it's a pretty similar concept across all three of these tracks here that I have. I'm going to start by opening up this amazing free bass plugin. It's free Sans app from TSC Audio. I just push a little bit of volume into it, a little bit in the input, low. This is the sub track, so I want to accentuate the lows, reduce some of the highs, give it a tiny bit of drive there, not much. So with just this plugin, gives it a nice EQ curve. So I highly recommend getting this plugin. It is 100% free. You can do a lot with it. If you just push some things, maybe put some distortion in front of it, you can get some really nasty tones. Next in the chain is everyone's favorite EQ plugin, Pro Q3. It's not doing much. It's just filtering out up to 250 Hertz at 18 decibels. I do have in the natural phase mode to try and retain any kind of phase relationship between these three tracks. I also have the auto gain turned on just so that it maintains the level going in with this massive filter going on. So let's hear it with and without. As you can hear, it's a nice clean sub sound. It's going to provide nice heavy low end when I start adding in the other tracks. Let's go ahead and get on to the grit track now. We're going to leave that one going. So the grit track is just the same thing, the DI. Obviously turned down very much because we're going to do some pretty heavy distortion on this. Start off with the Dark Glass plugin from Neural DSP. This is the exact settings I used on the actual mix that I did for Stephen Rose. It's just settings that I came up with that sounded good for it. I'm also using the built-in speakers with the 421 and the Dynamic 57. These are just, since this is a filtered out track, this is just for tone shaping. So let's turn it on and hear what it sounds like. Sounds pretty nasty and pretty good so far. Next in the chain we have the Pro Q3 again. This time it's filtering up to 250 Hertz. So it's filtering out all the sub. Then I got a filter at 5.3K just to reduce some of the nastiness way above there. Again, auto gain is on, natural phase mode. Let's turn that on. Sounds really bad by itself, but let's go ahead and blend in that DI. Now you've got that classic clanky tone. But let's take it a step further with a channel that I've been doing a lot lately. I don't do it all the time, but I like to do it. It's a distortion channel. It's just the same DI again. Turn down even lower. I've got some automation on it because I adjust the amount of gain through certain parts of the song. In this one, I'm using the Misha Mansour ToneForge plugin. I use this actually a lot for doing this now because it's got a lot of flexibility between the clean and crunch and lead channels with the knob that it continuously goes and changes the tone stack. In this plugin, though, I'm not using Precision Drive. I'm using the lead 1 channel, stock matched cab, nothing on the effects, nothing on the EQ, nothing on the out. So let's see what's going on here. It's really quiet because it's supposed to be blended in kind of low, and it's really, really nasty sounding. So I did this similar thing here, but I actually filtered this one up to 500 Hertz and 5.2K natural phase. I didn't turn auto gain on this one because I don't want this channel to be the main focus. I want to be able to control it well enough, and it's got a lot of information going through. So on these settings here, I'd reduced the lows, boosted the mids, I cranked the high, or left the highs about the same, turned the tight knob up, a little bit extra saturation, presence, harmonics, used the compressor a little bit, and I did push in 2 dB into the gain. So let's go ahead and turn this EQ on, and we're going to hear all 3 of them together. Okay, so let's get into the bus processing. Okay, so on the bass here, you see when I click this, I brought up my instrumental bus. It's the same settings from my drum mixing video, nothing special. So let's open up the first plugin. It's a good old Slate mix rack. Got the FG Stress plugin and the FGN EQ. We're going to go ahead and go one by one here. With the compressor, I pushed the input to 7.5. I put the TAC at 10. I released just between 1 and 2. Didn't push the output too much. 4:1 ratio. I've got the high pass and the mid boost, the mid detector engaged and distortion mode 2. So let's hear it with and without. It does everything a compressor should on a bass there. It brings up what you want to hear, it tightens it up, and it tries to keep in one place. Now on this EQ here, I've got, looks like just a high boost a little bit on there to brighten things up. Was just to help cut a little bit more with the guitars. So next in the chain is Q3. I don't have a shelf, or I don't have a top filter on this because I filtered all the other channels pretty far. Did pretty basic. This might seem scary to some people here, filtering bass up to 60 Hertz, but it's going to help your kick drum come through a lot better. And especially with this, I had Erman master the finals for these songs. He told me that we needed to keep the sub-lows in check because it is a very fast song, so sub-lows can build up very quickly. 60 Hertz is a good place to start, especially in modern metal if you're trying to keep your kick and your bass guitar gelled but not clashing. I cut a little bit out at 114, 246, just muddy, boxy ranges. And here I boosted 800 Hertz to try it. It was really to help gel with the guitars a little better. And this 1.9 kilohertz cut here is to help tame that ding wall sound, and you'll hear it. So let's turn this on. Just brings everything together. I'm going to mute this band right here so you can hear that ding wall sound I'm talking about. It's that grindy sound. It's just to keep it in check because it can get overwhelming with these, but it's necessary for the sound of the bass and to cut through the mix. So next in the channel, this is a cool one I do a lot lately with the Pro MB. You can do this with other multiband compressors like C4 or C6 with the sidechain, because what I'm doing here is the low band here is sidechained externally to bus 1, which is my kick and sample. And then this right here, this band is just to help keep things in check again with that ding wall sound. So when I turn this on, you're going to notice this band is not doing anything, but then I'm going to unmute the kick and you'll see what it does. So right now it's just keeping that ding wall sound in check. So let's go up and bring the kick in, and you'll see what happens in this band. Now what that's doing is it's just keeping that low end a little bit more in check with the kick drum. It's kind of ducking the bass, the low end of the bass out of the way a little bit. It's just there to keep things closer together, tighter, so that you have that low end clarity and punch that you're looking for in modern metal. This is a cool trick that I pretty much do this on every mix at this point. And then very last in the chain is everyone's favorite limiter, L1. I've got it's pushing a little bit extra gain out of there. I got the release back a little bit. So let's see what that does. It's just keeping it in place. It's ducking out a couple little extra peaks. So that's all the processing on the bass. I have a little bit of automation through. You can see I automated some of the high-end stuff here. That's really it. There's not too much in this song. So let's go ahead and listen to the bass and guitar relationship, and then I'll do some things within the mix for you. So first I'm going to show you the combination of the bass and the guitars together, just so you can hear what I'm talking about with the high track, kind of gluing everything together. So I'm gonna solo the guitars so we can hear just the bass and guitars. You'll hear when I mute the grit is when it really goes away, but the distortion helps kind of glue everything together, like I said. So listen again. And then the whole thing, everything after that is just balance. I've got the DI back a few decibels, the grit back a lot, just so that it's not overbearing. And I have the distortion, especially on this part where I automated it way back, -24, but up here it's -15. So let's go ahead and hear the whole mix. And like you can see right there, this band only activates when the kick hits. That's my bass processing, especially with DjinnBass. You don't need to do a lot. I don't think you need to use anything like R bass or max bass to increase the low end, because this bass instrument has the tightest, fattest low end I've seen on any bass library out there, and I've used basically all the major ones. So I hope this tutorial is helpful for you. If you want to purchase this bass instrument, please go to submissionaudio.com to find out more. I will leave a link in the description, and I hope you guys all have a great day.